Yo, I wanted to come back for part two because I'm supporting, because like I said, I told you last time, I'm pro-black, and especially my black folks I've known since I was a kid. We go way back. So whatever you're doing is positive. I support it. You know what I'm saying? You've always been a positive person, and I support that to the fullest. So much. Nah, I mean that shit, man. I appreciate it.
717. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to Words on the Street. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Terrence, for coming back. I appreciate it.
Round two, for
Round
sure.
two, I appreciate it. So we just gonna get into it. Usually I do like a little warm up. We already did the warm up.
We did that already.
Last episode, so we're gonna get into it.
Let's jump in.
Exactly. Where's my, okay. So I can't continuously watch the screen, but if anybody has questions, and then Veronica too, you can tell people ask questions if they have any questions. I'll get a text and then we'll go from there. Okay. Oh, and I already have a few questions for you. but we're going to get to those.
That's what's up.
Okay. So we're going to start with just talking about father relationships, identity, just all that. Okay. I had other guests talk about something called father wounds. Do you think unresolved issues with fathers affect how men deal with pressure, relationships, or responsibility later in life?
Absolutely, because I know that from where my father comes from, his origins, and like people that don't know, most people know, but for those who don't know, my father was born and raised in New York. My dad's from the Bronx, so coming up in the 60s and 70s, dealing with just the strife of being extremely poor, racism in the community. I could recall my dad talking about him and his brothers, running from the Italians, being called the N-word, all kinds of crazy shit. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just coming up in that environment and, escaping that. And my dad's escape was the military. So, he met my mother while he was stationed in Kentucky, where my mother was born and raised. I was actually born there, but then he got stationed in California, so that's how we ended up here, and we just never looked back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy because I know for the conflicts I've had with my father directly stem from his trauma, from his upbringing that, kind of, I don't want to say he took it out on me, but I mean, he did in a way, but it's like, how do you even deal with that kind of stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you even deal with that?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. How do you deal with that?
For me, dealing with what he had and what I was presented and how I came up, I mean, my outlet growing up, in the 90s was, I played basketball, as most people remember to some extent. I played basketball a lot. I played in the marching band for 3 years in high school. So drums was, that was my calling. And also my church group. I was very involved in the church at Grace Temple.
Shansay wants to join this conversation.
Shansay, yo, that's hey, that's the P. Shansay, what's good?
Nothing much. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
So, Shansay, I asked Terrence I was telling him that there was something called a father wound, and I asked him if he believes unresolved issues with fathers affect how men deal with pressure, relationships, or responsibility later in life. So that's what he's talking about right now, just to catch you up. Okay. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you good. So, to reflect on how my pop's upbringing into how he brought me up and to the conflicts we have even today at this very moment. So a lot of the times, I think how my dad really dealt with things was just making sure he was in control of everything. That was the way to control the chaos, so to speak. But at some point, you have to realize, okay, you did your job. I'm the man that I am because of you. I did everything you asked me to do. There were certain things that I didn't do that some of my homies did. And for the most part, I've tried to be the best person I could be for myself, for my family, for my children. So there's no need to feel like you still need to have this submission or control. There's no need for that. And I think the fathers of that generation, a lot of them struggle with that, because I hear of stories. I know my own background, and then my uncles and my cousins, what they tell me about is my dad's brothers, what they're saying, what their fathers are putting them through. You know, so I'm more outspoken, and I'm outspoken because of my dad. My dad is an outspoken person, so he always said the one element I've always taken into consideration: stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
And it's not about right or wrong. It's about, hey, stand up for what you believe in, because and most of the time you're right anyway.
Stand for something and fall for anything.
Exactly.
Was there things as a young man that maybe at the time you didn't notice, but you would go to your father about, and maybe just because of his background, it was hard for him to be able to be there for you?
I think, yes. I think that it's a lot of irony in the way our parents kind of deal with us. Okay. I have a sister that's like 2 years older than me. A lot of people don't even know that. You know what I'm saying? And I've only seen her once. I saw her when I was like 19 years old. Here I'm 44 now. You know, she's 40. She'll be 46 in May. So we don't really know each other, but we saw each other as kids. And my little brother was like a baby still, so I know he don't remember. So, and I remember my dad, you know, being mad. He was like, I don't like how you had your kids out of wedlock. I'm like, bro, you did it too. How you gonna be mad at me? You did it too.
Yeah.
I'm my father's son. I did what he did.
I'm my father. Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm gonna always say that, but it's out of love. It's not out of hate or nothing like that. It's like, bro, I'm doing what I've seen. You know, exactly. I know what I know because of you, whether it's positive or negative. I was one of the few, because in our generation, you know, there's a lot of fatherless people in our generation.
Yes.
A lot of. So for me, I had my dad, both positive and negative, but nonetheless, I had a father. I don't know I don't know what kind of person I'd be, what kind of life I'd be living if I did not have a father in my home to teach me from right and wrong.
Definitely.
It made me who I am. Mm-hmm. So I will always give him credit for that. Whether I know we don't have the best relationship, but I will always credit him for he taught me everything I know. I know being a man, my daddy taught me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will always give him props for that.
Well, coming up in the 90s with an absent father was tough. So if you could sit down with your father today with no ego involved, what do you think you would want him to understand about your life?
I would want my dad to understand that you did your job, and I'm thankful that you were there for me. I've done everything to my power to try to be the best man I could be in your eye, because every little boy, because I'll share something with you, the little boy inside that's still there, even though you're grown, but it's still there. You want to make your daddy proud. Every man that has his father in his life wants that. So I would say to him, you did what you were supposed to do, but you gotta let me be who I am. Yeah. I'm not a dope dealer. I'm not a dope user. I've never been to prison. There's all these negative elements that you've seen other people do that I have personal relationship with. Friends, whatever, family. I didn't do any of that. Yeah. So you don't have to feel like you need to control me. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to feel that way. So,
do you think that sometimes with our fathers, maybe especially our black fathers, because of the time they grew up in, that maybe a piece of them making us feel like we could always do better, right? I don't know if I'm saying it right. I know the feeling.
You hit it right. You hit it, but you could always do better. And that's always been the scenario. You should have did it this way. You should. My dad says, it pissed me off so much. I love my daddy to death, man. He said to me one time, well, if you just listen to me, your life would have been better. I'm like, bro.
But I'm wondering if that's a little piece of them.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
That's not healed.
That's exactly what it is. Because I know I
know they're proud of us.
No, of course.
Because they brag about us.
Mm-hmm. They do. But what I know, and I'm going to tell you something. my pops is very guarded about his life. I don't really know much about my dad. I'm 44 years old, and there's a lot of things that I don't even know about this man still.
Yeah.
Because he's very guarded about his trauma. He's only shared it in small increments, sporadic throughout my life. And I've held on to each element that each crumb he's given me, I've held on to it because I want to know who he is. I want to know who is this man and what has he had to deal with that I've never even had to think about.
Yeah.
You know, and from the things he's told me, I'm like, whoa, like super crazy, traumatic shit. Like unimaginable type stuff that I never had to think about.
It low-key makes you want to say, "Oh, I'm lucky."
Yeah,
like it could
real
be
talk.
worse.
Real talk. I could have had it so much worse, but he made it a point to make sure I didn't have it that way. So, you know, yeah. And when I hear these things, I feel for him. I feel bad for him because he didn't need to go. Him, my aunts and uncles didn't need to go through that. And you know, people find outlets to deal with their trauma. One of my uncles, he turned to drug use. He turned to addiction to cope. And he eventually lost his life in that, you know, and that was my dad's brother. We never recovered from that blow, you know what I'm saying? He died 30 years ago. We died when I was a teenager, so we never recovered from that, you know what I'm saying? And I saw for the first time when he found out my uncle was sick, that's the first time I'd ever seen him vulnerable. And that's crazy for someone that I remember being little and he seemed invincible to me. Like nothing could hurt this man. He was swole, you know, light-skinned dude, you know what I'm saying? Nothing could phase, nothing bothered him, you know? My mom was in love. They were in love, they were young, they were in love. I saw all these things as a little kid coming up. But as soon as the news broke that my uncle was sick, I'd never seen him cry until that day. And that stayed with me all this time. And then, you know, a couple of years later, he passed away. So.
Well, it's interesting, as strong and as poised as your father was, you can recognize that there's still some wounds there. He's just,
absolutely.
And even at, you know what I mean? And your father is probably in his 60s or 70s.
He's almost 70, yeah.
Almost 70, yeah. And so we're gonna get into that because I want to not your father, but more about just in that dynamic.
Sure.
But I wanted to ask you, what was with you going through what you went through as a child, just with having a strict father and very, you know, probably regimented and a lot like my dad. What role did your mom play in that? Like, how was that balance important for you as a young man, and what was it?
My mom was always she was kind of the peacemaker / the middleman, you know? And even though my mom came from a strict upbringing herself, but in that environment with my mom and my grandmother, her sisters, her brothers, you know, and they had their trauma as well. But they were more nurturing, so to speak. My dad wasn't a very nurturing person. Mm-hmm. He was with my brother, but he wasn't with me, you know. And you know, I'm way old. Like, I'm 15 years older than my little brother, you know what I'm saying? So when he came, my parents were older. They were at a different phase in their lives. So my brother came up in that era, you know. I'm born in 82, you know what I'm saying? My mom was 22 when she had me. She was fresh 22. Mm-hmm. She turned 22 a week later, she had me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So imagine being that young with a child. You got a man that's in the military. You come from a town. They ain't about nothing. You know there's nothing here. We going to California. We out.
Yeah.
She never looked back. She's never been back. I mean, she's been back to visit for my grandmother stuff, you know, until she passed away. But yo, my mom was like, shit, I'm out of here. Yeah. And she never looked back. You know, she's been in California for over 40 years now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not even mad at her.
California.
I'm not even mad at her because if I came up in Kentucky, I'd be a whole another person. I would be a completely different person because I seen my cousins come up in that environment and how their lives ended up as they got older. You know, unemployment, prison, all this stupid stuff.
No outlets.
Yeah. None. It's like my mom is from a town called Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Mm.
It's like between that and Fort Campbell, where I was born, because my dad was in the Army. Think of Lompoc, Santa Maria, like the drive.
Yeah.
That's the distance. So Hoptown is like, there's nothing there, yo. It's, you think Lompoc's bad? Go to Hoptown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lompoc is like Lompoc is like LA to me, you know what I'm saying? Comparing. And I've been back a couple of times just visiting family and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like a time warp, man. It's behind, fashion's behind, music's behind. They'll put 20-inch Dayton's on a 92 Continental and think they doing something. This is my cousin I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
He think he doing something. I'm like, bro, that's a 92. All right.
And it's racist.
Yeah, and it's hella, it's the
racist.
South.
Yeah.
So it's hella racist. So it's like, nah, man, there's no way. My mom was like, oh, hell no, I'm out.
I'm out.
And I love her, and I love her to death because of that, man. I'm a Cali boy for life, you know what I'm saying? I was born in the South, but I was raised in Cali, you know what I'm saying? For sure.
Period.
Okay, so you said your brother was 15 years apart from you.
Yeah, yeah. He came when we was in high school. I mean, it was before, I think before y'all got there. Well, Shantae, yes, because she's only a year behind me, but you were 2 years behind me, right? If I'm not mistaken. Were you 2 or 1?
02.
Oh, two.
You
So you were
graduated
2.
with Lyndon, right?
Yeah, 2000, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was 2000?
Yeah.
I didn't even know
Me,
you guys were older.
Kadri, Lyndon, Blair, you know what I'm saying? We were all, you know.
I don't know why I thought you guys were 01.
nah, we were 2000. For
Oh,
sure.
okay. So yeah, 2 years, okay.
Yeah.
So him being 15 years apart, do you feel like each of you processed your upbringing differently?
Absolutely. First of all, shout out to my baby brother. You know, Trey is just a special young man, and he's a positive person. And you know, not realizing for everything I was involved in with his upbringing, I played a role in his upbringing, not really knowing that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know, he actually brought that to my attention later on in life. He just said that my dad and my brother played a huge role because I spent a lot of time with him when he was a little kid, when he was a small child, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My parents would be at work and I was out of school, you know, at that point. So I watched him a lot, you know. I would take him places with me, I'd take him around my friends, you know. So he knows who all my homies are. And they know him because I brought them around him when he was little, you know. So they are well aware of who he is. They all, when he sees them, you know, oh, I saw so and so, like, oh shit, you know, that's cool, you know. So I'm proud of that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Why do you think siblings can come from the same households but handle life struggles different?
Because parents are different with each kid, and I realize it doesn't matter about the age difference; it's the individual, you know. And my parents were older when they were, you know, my mom was 37, my dad turned 40 that year. So they were more mature and more seasoned. So he came up just in a different era than me, you know, coming up in the 80s and 90s, you know,
It was way different.
it was wild because when your parents are young, they're gonna do young people shit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They just so happen to have a small child, you know. So I saw a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to see, you know. Alcohol, you know. I seen this is crazy. I'll tell you something. So when I was little, we were living overseas, right? We were in Germany. My dad was still in the army. He had this homeboy. He was in the service with him. Crazy dude from Georgia. He punched his wife in front of me. He didn't know I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I came out of my room, and I'll never forget the nigga had on a red. He was a country nigga. He had like a red outfit. You know what I'm saying? Country type shit.
Yeah.
So he had a red out. It was clean though, but he had a red. His wife says to him, he just saw. I was like, whoa! I'm like 7, 8. I'm little, and I'm like, I ran back out my room. You know,
Yeah.
crazy shit. So I told my mom. I said, Mrs. So and so, you know, he hit Miss Vanessa. She's like, what? I said, yeah. In front of you, I was like, nah, I think I can't. I just happened to come out of my room and he hit her while he didn't know I was there. I ran back in my room. So that was my first like visual of domestic violence. That's the first time I ever seen something like that. So I was like, what? All bad, you know?
Yeah.
He went on in life. She divorced him, you know, years later. But he went down, a weird path. And I know my dad has reconnected with him, in the past, years later. But I would never do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that old school how dudes put hands on females, and I'm not about that.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
not about that.
yeah, for sure. People celebrate success, but redemption stories are powerful too. What does redemption mean to you as a man?
Redemption means just you're gonna go through tough times, but you don't lay down and give up. And you feel like you want to give up. You feel like you want to just I'm just done. Nah. But the strength within you, and that comes from the individual. It has nothing to do with your upbringing, so to speak. You have to find that strength from within, through prayer, through self-love, and you can find that. So everybody's redemption story is different, but it comes from within. I'm a firm believer in that.
Was there a moment where you had to look at yourself honestly and realize something about your life or mindset needed to change?
Absolutely. I went through a situation in the past where I was homeless. You know what I'm saying? So I went through a bad spell about 9 years ago. And I was really in this kind of woe is me, feeling sorry for myself, blah, blah, blah. And I had to let that go. I had to get myself out of that mental funk where I feel like there's no end, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You can't think that. Even in the worst moment, you got to have faith. You got to believe that there's something better for you. And that's, in the midst of feeling, defeated, you have to find hope and strength to keep pressing forward.
Okay, so what helped you rebuild yourself during that difficult season? Where did you, like you say, it comes from within, but let's say somebody can't find that within. Let's say, because we're about to talk about young men. Let's say the ages that you work with are probably about 18 to probably about 28. Have you worked with that age group?
My coworkers, you mean? Or the kids I work with?
The kids you work with, don't you work on probation?
Yeah, but the kids are like between like 12 and like 19.
Like 19.
They're hella young.
Okay, well either way you have
Yeah. So, for that particular group, I try to instill qualities of, look, you don't have to feel defeated or down. I know stuff is hard at the moment. Damn. I was
watching it. I
was watching that shit. Yo, you almost had it though.
Almost.
You almost had it. That was tight.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, you good. I think that I have more to offer now than I did when I was younger, getting into it, because I feel more seasoned now. I'm obviously more mature, and I've lived a lot more life.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into it in your 20s is crazy because you haven't really lived it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of life you haven't lived yet. You want to be a positive person, but you're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, I feel more in tune with having something positive to offer, Yeah. And that's what I try to do for the youngsters these days. And I'm proud of that. I feel more passionate now than I did when I was in my 20s, and that's been my driving force to keep moving forward.
What working in the system with young men, what patterns do you see when it comes to men struggling with pressure or mental health?
A lot of it is just being a product of their own environment. A lot of these youngsters come from quote unquote broken homes. There's addiction, there's domestic violence, there's abuse, so these kids are living these horrific realities that we don't even have to think about. And then they come into custody and try and navigate that, which is difficult at times.
Yeah.
So all you can be is a positive beacon. That's all you can be.
Yeah. When you look at men between the ages of 18 and 25, what do you think they're really going through emotionally that people don't talk about enough?
I think that for men are trying to find themselves. And really, you don't even find it at 25. I didn't really start figuring it out I didn't really start feeling like this is who I am until I was like 30. And at that point, I had 2 small children, so I'm trying to be me, and
And be the best for them.
be the best. I have a 3-year-old and a baby. You know what I'm saying? That's where my life was at 30. I had a 3-year-old and a baby. So that's just where I was at. You know, you don't, in your 20s, you don't figure it out. Because you still have a kid mentality. You're just old enough to do whatever.
Yeah.
The maturity doesn't come until much later. And I'm glad that I had kids when I was older. You know, I had my first baby when I was 27. I turned 28 2 weeks later, you know. My second, I was 30. I turned 31. So I'm glad I was older. That way I can positively handle the things I need to handle without being stupid, so to speak. If I had a baby at 19, 20, I'd be a damn fool. I know myself. And maybe I would have been able to figure it out with the help of my parents, so to speak, but I just, knowing for how ridiculous we were at that point in our lives and what we were doing and just all the partying and bullshit we was on, I don't see myself being the best I could be at that moment. I'm glad it came much later when I was able to navigate that better.
Exactly. What does emotional pressure look like for men in real life?
There is no emotion. Especially for Black men, we're geared to just not feel anything. It's generational. We're taught to not have feelings. That's just how we're just bred to be that way. That's not to say that we don't feel, because we do, but there's no outlet to express that. We don't find that until much later, unfortunately. And I think the way society is now, and just how as Black men, we've overcome so much trauma, we've overcome so much strife, and we could talk about it amongst our friends and not feel embarrassed about it. You mentioned Lyndon. That's somebody I know I can come to and discuss any and everything with and not be judged for it.
Shout out Germs Be Gone.
Germs Be Gone. Hey, get your products. Hit up germsbegone.com. Get all your products for sure. That's somebody who has been for years a safe space, you know, because he understands. And like when you come up with someone early in your life and you get older and older, you know, he gets it. So I know I can go to him and say, hey man, I'm feeling this about such and such. All right, well, what's going on? You know, and then we'll discuss it. And he can do the same with me.
Yeah.
You need that outlet. There's nothing, a man discussing his feelings is not emasculation. And that's what we're taught, that expressing your feelings is emasculate. No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't mean you're a punk or you're soft or whatever. No, man, you need to let that out, man. You gotta do that. So I'm not ashamed to say how I feel about something, because that doesn't make me less of a man. No, it's not about that. Your mental health is so important. Yeah. It is. You gotta have that. You have to maintain that. You have to do the things to help yourself maintain. Firm believer in that.
So what's the difference between a man having the outlet of another man and a man having the outlet of another woman? Because I notice, especially my older son, we can have conversations, but I notice the real conversation comes when he has it with my husband, or when he has it with his uncle. It's like I get the light conversation. You know what I mean? So what, in your opinion, what's the difference?
I think with young men, a young boy values what he can get from his father, especially if that father's in his life. So that means the world. It's not to discredit the mother in any way, shape, or form, but from the same gender, it's more of a connection, because you know your dad is going to understand certain things as from a male perspective that your mother is not. Sure, your mother's probably more nurturing, yes, we yearn for that, we want that, but your dad is going to get exactly where you're coming from more than your mom will. So I think that's why your son probably gravitates to his father more than he would you, so to speak. And that's not a knock to you at all. It's just that a man is going to understand. I think that's where that comes from.
I love that. Okay. In your experience, have there been moments where a young man's mental health got so low that he felt like he had no way out?
Unfortunately, you hear stories of people doing, the unthinkable. You hear stuff about that all the time, unfortunately. But yeah, you just have to believe. You got to find some kind of hope and strength, And if it doesn't come from, if you don't have a strong male influence in the home, and for me, I had a strong male influence, but I also had stuff from the outside. I had friends that had older brothers. I had the church, pastors, deacons, and whatnot. So there was always outlets for me. I was very fortunate, and I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that, because that set the foundation and set me on the path to be exactly who I am at this very moment.
Yeah, for sure. What message would you want to give a young man who feels like life has pushed him to a really dark place?
You have to believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. You have to say to yourself, okay, you feel like you're backed into a corner, but it's not the end of the world. You just got to have hope and faith. It's easy to feel down. It's easy to just give up, but you have to have hope and faith. I mean,
You just have to have it.
you just got to have it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, the people that don't, you see what happens. They do the unthinkable, and you don't ever want to fall off like that.
Exactly. We're going to switch it up a little bit. What does masculinity mean to you personally?
Masculinity is just doing what a man is supposed to do. Protect, love, being, a positive voice, being a positive influence. The term, I've heard this term, and it's only been in effect for, I say, over the last 10 years of my life. The term toxic masculinity. I've only heard of this over the last probably 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that, because there's a lot of people that try to twist regular things that a man is supposed to do as, oh, that's toxic masculinity. No, it's not. Me protecting my home is not toxic masculinity. When the burglar breaks in, who are you going to wake up and say, oh, hey, you're going to wake me up to see what's going on, right? Is that toxic masculinity? No, that's me protecting my damn home was what I was raised to do as a man.
Yeah.
I'm a man, so I'm going to protect my house, period.
You saying that, has anyone, I have mosquito eaters in here.
It's all good. I was watching them earlier.
Later.
I was peeping them earlier.
Right.
I said, they doing their thing right now.
They are. Meeting season or something. I don't know what's going on. I just put that screen up. So with you saying about the masculinity, I've had men on here who've also addressed, because sometimes females will say, oh, he has feminine energy or things like that. Have you ever heard that, or how do you feel about that? Or do you feel like in a time in your life you embodied some form of feminine energy?
I think that, I categorize that, and the only way I can really say it is like heartbreak, so to speak. Like if you get your heart broken by a girl that you really like, you feel her, she ain't feeling you, and you feel like, oh man. So it's like, that's the only aspect I really look at it that way, but
And they had talked about it more on a space of not being able, instead of, how they say men are analytical and females are emotional. Well, they found times in their life, usually when they were younger men, where when they got triggered, instead of them stopping and thinking about what they're doing before they're doing it, they just go off of emotion. Whether it's yelling, whatever it is, they just go off of emotion. And so I was wondering, how do you feel about that?
I think, one, any individual, whether male or female, is going to go off of what they've seen. You're going to go off of what you've been taught, so to speak. Behavior is learned. We as a people, we mimic what we saw our parents do. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. Whether positive or negative, we're going to emulate what they did to an extent. Mm-hmm. For the individual, you have the option to express how you feel, and a lot when you're young, you don't know that. You know what I mean? When you're a teenager, you don't know that. You don't know how to process that. You don't know how to express that. You think you do, but you don't. You don't figure that out until you're older, you know?
Yeah.
So I think about my life in high school, middle school, and the way I acted compared to how I behave now. And it's like, well, that just comes with maturity, you know? And you just have to, the way you react as a kid, obviously you're not going to react that way as an adult if you've matured and grown up. Not everybody matures. Just because you're in your 40s don't mean you mature. You could be on some dumb shit that you was on 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, because we've seen it. So everything is based on the individual.
How much does the father play into that? Into a young man's reaction, emotion, analytical thinking? How much is a father?
It provides more of a stronger influence, because if somebody that's primarily raised by a mother, they might show a little more of a, I don't want to call it feminine,
For emotion?
but emotional.
Yeah.
So in a man raised by primarily women is going to probably show that. And that's just because he was around women his
That's
whole
what he
life.
saw.
That's all he knows. So that's how he's going to react.
Yeah.
For me, I saw a large, strong man and the way he acted. So I embodied a lot of that into my own persona, which
sure.
I still, to this day, and I'm not ashamed of that. But I have to tweak it to where it's not damaging anyone or myself.
Well, I had a man on here who was only raised by his father,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying that what he gets told is he's too aggressive
Right,
because he didn't see that emotion.
right.
So for him, it's like
Very
it's the
common.
opposite. Yeah,
Yep, very
it's the
common.
opposite.
So if a man raised by a man is not going to know that, because men are naturally just more, I don't want to call it aggressive, but just more, it's more masculine.
Yeah.
If there's no
More testosterone. behind
exactly,
it.
if there's no
Yeah.
feminine energy around you, then how are you going to know about it if you ain't never seen it?
Yeah.
So-
Fluff's not being put around anything
Nah.
in that house.
And so I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think men expressing emotion is a strength or something society still judges them for?
It goes both ways. It's definitely a strength because you need your mental health to be intact. You need your mental health to be healthy. And you have to be able to express if you're feeling down or you're frustrated, angry, sad, whatever. You need to have an outlet to communicate with someone close enough to you where you can basically express what you feel. So it can go either way.
Do you think that young men today are confused about what it means to be a man?
Absolutely. Because society has tried to cancel the positive masculine persona of what a man is supposed to be to protect his family. That element has been all the more eliminated. And it goes back, if you think about it, you look at Section 8 of welfare. In 1970, they eliminated the black man from the home.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
So, no black man in the home, single mom, hella kids. What are we doing, right?
Yeah.
So you look at 1970, that was what? 56 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are in 2026. These young men today, they're super emotional. They act on impulse. They don't think before they react. They think they're tough, but they're really not. You don't find out how tough you are until you go to the pen. Then you're going to see what time it is. I'm trying to save kids from going to the pen because I said, ain't no Officer Bridges in the pen. We don't work there. We work in the juvenile halls. We're trying to let you know, hey, young brother, this is not the way to go. Get your shit together and figure it out. You don't want to go to the big house because you're going to find out what time it is.
I was watching a podcast and it was a trans man on there, and he was saying that his experience in there was the guards would pimp the trans women out to the lifers
That's terrible.
to calm them down.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and that's something that offends me, being that I'm a guard and I've been in this game for 20 years now. Over 20 years.
Yeah.
So when I hear about the staff doing dirty things and not being honorable for what it's really supposed to be, and they're traumatizing and terrorizing, these inmates, it pisses me off because they make us all look bad. And it's only a few of them, But for the negative aura that already comes with the profession, the way the community views us, okay,
It makes you all look better.
it makes us look even worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay. That was off topic. It was just something that came to my mind.
Nah, I'm passionate about that because
Yeah.
I don't like that. And they, like I said, they make us all look bad, and we're not like that. I'm out here trying to save these kids, man. I'm up here really doing that. You got some dipshit, you got Gladiator School down in LA. They wilding out there. They wilding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all bad.
Yeah. A lot of men don't talk about their health until something is wrong. Why do you think men avoid dealing with their physical health?
Because society in the early days, generations back, were if you express something, you were viewed as weak, you were viewed as soft, you were viewed as a sissy or whatever. And it's like, nah, man, this is legitimate things we have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I did a stand-up bit a few weeks ago, and this kid was there. He was 18. It was his 18th birthday. And I said, hey man, happy birthday. He's like, oh, that's what's up, big homie, thanks. And I said, hey, do you know what your prostate is? And he was like, what the hell? He said, no. And I was like, because you're 18. Because you're 18. You're going to find out, but not right now, but you're going to find out later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think about that because I didn't know anything about that when I was 18. And that's what made me say that. Now that I'm older, this is shit I think about,
Yeah.
Your health is wealth. It is.
And men, get your prostate
Get
checked.
your-
I think now you can poop in a cup and they dip the stick in it. I don't know. I don't know though. I don't know. So get your stuff checked, men. Right, Shawnce?
Yes, ma'am.
What are some things men should be doing to take better care of themselves physically and mentally, other than getting their prostates checked?
Just have a routine.
Yeah.
If you like to work out, work out. If you like to go fishing, go fishing. If you like to barbecue.
Yeah.
Do the things, and this is what I tell. It's so crazy you ask me that. I tell people at my job, the newbies that come in, they're fresh, they don't know nothing, they're just trying to learn the game. And I always say, look, whatever you like to do outside of here for fun, do that even more. Don't stop being who you are. Don't get caught up in this game of just dedicating your life to this, because it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
When they put flowers on me, that building ain't going nowhere. When
They're gonna hire somebody else.
they're gonna hire somebody to replace me. So do you, get your money, do your job, but live your life. Use this to finance the things that you like to do.
Exactly.
That's what I tell everybody.
As a man raising daughters, how has that changed the way you think? Hold on. I don't think that's the whole question. About women and relationships. How has that changed how you think about women and relationships?
It definitely made me be more open. It made me realize that I wasn't as good as a boyfriend that I wanted to be, and and I'm not ashamed to admit that about myself. Like most people that I already know, my daughters are with two different women. Both were failed relationships. And it came from both ends. It was easy for me to blame them. It was easy, she did this, she did this. It was easy for me to do that.
For sure.
And not own up to my bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, okay, I wasn't the best either. And it just didn't work out. But I got a beautiful daughter here. I got a beautiful daughter here. So I have to be the best dad I can be.
Yeah.
And I think from what my experience has been, for the most part, they allow me to do that, to be the best father. And I would hope that's what a female would want from a man that she has a child with.
Yeah.
And get away from the anger, the bitterness, the animosity. Okay, you have the right to feel that way. I'm not taking that from you. But you should want me to be a father to my daughter as well. And I'm going to do that. For a breakup never made me stray away from my kids, ever. And it never will. So, we're, at the end of the day, we're obligated to take care of our babies. That's it.
What kind of man do you hope your daughters choose one day?
Somebody like me.
But you're a good guy.
I'm
there's
trying to
nothing
be.
wrong- There's nothing wrong
Yes,
with that.
and you know what I'm saying?
Well,
I'm
let me rephrase the question then. If you saw, because you just said you weren't always the best boyfriend, so if you saw a little piece of the old Terrence and the young man that walks in next to your daughter, how are you going to deal with that?
I would say, I have to say, hey, be cautious. You know, it's okay to be in love. It's okay to have feelings, but understand the entirety of what you're getting into, you know? And we can't protect our kids from everything. We just can't. You know, we want to because of what we've gone through, but that's just not realistic.
Will you share your story with your daughters?
What do you mean, like with their moms?
No, like as far as, because you said you weren't always the best boyfriend. So will you be honest with them and let them know you weren't always the man you are today?
Sure. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to ask me because I ain't going to say it.
You know, I had another guest he only has a daughter, and he said, no, I'm not going to tell her my past. And I said, well, one thing that my dad always did is remind me that he wasn't the man that I see, the perfect father, the great man. He wasn't always that man. And so it was important, and that was important for me because that gave him the leverage to be able to say, he's not right. And you know how he's not right? Because I used to be that, or because I've seen that before. Or so I just think it's important, you know, because sometimes we don't want our kids to know certain things for our own reasons, but it's also important for our kids to, because they're going to go through what we went through.
Exactly.
And they need to know that
They
we
need
weren't
to know.
perfect, so then they can come to us and know we went through it too. We ain't on this pedestal.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And I think that and to add to that, for the failures in my life that my children have already seen me go through, that they've witnessed, I think they know that I'm human, but they also know that I have their best interest at heart, and I'm going to always protect them regardless.
And they saw you get up.
Exactly.
That's the important
And the
part.
thing, you know, and through a failed marriage, I was in a situation where a woman just got so detached and just really struggling with her mental health, where she was attacking me in front of my children, and they didn't like that. And my older daughter expressed that. She said, I didn't like how, she told my mother this, I didn't like how she was treating my dad.
Yeah.
And that just pierced my heart, man. I was like, damn, well, good thing I got out of that situation. And we had a conversation actually about 2 months ago. I said, I know you've seen me kind of fall down, but you saw me get up too. I don't fold for nobody. So I might fall down, but I'm going to always get up, especially for y'all.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what it's all about.
And God forbid she go through anything like that as she gets older. But if she does, that's the strength that's going to give her to be able to reflect and say,
Yep.
get me. Because, you know, your parents could tell you to leave somebody. Everybody can tell you to leave somebody, but you ain't going to do it. But that's the strength. I remember when I went through domestic violence with my first husband, it took my parents to say, because all I had seen were people being together their whole life. So it took my parents to say, hey, there's no shame. You're not less than, like, and my mom to say, I wouldn't deal with it.
Yep.
For me to get that, you know what I mean? So for a
Yep.
woman, I think that's important for you to
Absolutely.
keep walking that walk, Terrence.
Got to, you know.
What lessons are you intentionally teaching your daughters about self-worth and how men should treat them?
Don't ever think that being treated poorly is okay. Because they saw me really love on this woman. They saw that, you know. And you deserve the same, if not better.
For sure.
So I will always encourage them to just have, you are loved. And I tell my daughters I love them so much. I can't even help myself. There's no end to it. I love you. And there's no, you say it too much. Nah, man.
You can never say it.
I love my kids, man. Like, I love my daughters. I love them so much, man. And it's like, there's something I'm going to do. My daughter is a sophomore, so in a couple of years she'll graduate. So I have this picture of us when she was in kindergarten. The first day of kindergarten, the first day of school. And I have this picture, I'm kind of kneeling down, posing, like all tough and shit. And she's just standing up, and she got her hand on my shoulder, you know, all smiling with her little backpack. And she's so cute, you know. And I said, I'm going to take another picture of her graduation, and I'm going to put the collage together. I can't wait to do that, man. I've been thinking about that shit for the last like 8 or 9 years, man.
Yeah.
I said I'm gonna do that because I'm just a proud dad, man.
And that'll be your first graduate?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then because they're 3 years apart, so when one is in 12th, the other one will be in 9th. And a couple of years later, I'm gonna do it for the other one too, because I have pictures with her with the baby as well.
Okay.
So it's like I'm excited, man. Like I love my kids, man. There's nothing that will derail me from being a positive influence to my daughters. It's just they're here, they're here because of me, and I love them.
You're
man.
gonna do the best.
I'm
for
gonna do
them.
the best for them.
That's right. Well, we're almost at the end of this
Yeah.
interview, but I got some questions from TikTok for you.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it says Shawnee had questions. One of her questions was, what message would you want society to hear about Black fathers who are raising their children?
Black fathers should never be categorized as overly aggressive or negative, or just we're made out to be people that we're not, and I don't like the fact that, and that's the way society kind of brands us, as we're overly aggressive, we don't have emotions, we don't listen, we don't feel anything, and none of that's true. We feel everything with our kids, with our wives, with our girlfriends or whatnot. So a Black father should be looked at in the same light as everyone, but we're the ones that are categorized and looked at differently because it's the racist angle of society brands us that way, but it's not like that.
Okay. Have you ever felt like people were surprised to see you actively involved in your children's lives?
I've never experienced that. For the most part, people, oh yeah, you're a good dad, and I've never, because I never allowed myself to kind of live in that negative aspect. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like, and coming up in this community, and we're all still very much around each other in a different aspect. Not where we're hanging out every day, but we see our kids. Some of our kids know each other. You know what I'm saying? So as long as we're there, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
How do you model healthy masculinity for your daughters?
Just being open and understanding, being somebody they can come to when they need it, and not being too overbearing, or being and just trying to understand where they're coming from. Like, my kids are mixed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like to be a mixed person. I don't know what that feels like. And I told both of them this. I said, look, I don't know what it's like to be a mixed kid, but I'm if you got an issue, bring it to me and we'll figure it out,
Yeah.
You got to be an open book. You got to be open-minded. You have to let them know that you support them. That's the biggest thing, is just be supportive. Regardless.
Yep. What values are most important for you to pass down to them?
Just being honest, being true, being a good person. One thing, you gonna laugh at this. I've told my kids this since they were little kids, and they can repeat it to me now. And I always say, what's gonna make me not support you? If I'm a serial killer? Exactly. You out there doing dirt, I don't know you. No, I'm not coming to the pen of it. No. If you were chopping people up, I don't know you. I didn't raise you to do that. Yeah. So I say that to my younger daughter. I said, what's gonna make me not support you? If I'm a serial killer? Yeah, because you chopping people up, I don't know nothing about that. So you go ahead.
Yeah. But anything else, I'm there for you.
Anything else, I got you for life.
Is there anything that you want to get off your chest or that you have to say?
You know what? Just be true to yourself. Be a loving person. Be honest, and establish your boundaries and stand by them, and don't stray away from that, because your boundaries are important.
Okay, my last question for you is, if a young man between the ages of 18 to 25 is watching this and feels lost mentally, physically, or emotionally, what advice would you give him about getting through this hard season's life?
You have support, you are loved, you are supported, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up. Do not give up. You will get there.
And read your Bible.
Read your Bible. Amen.
Yeah. That's words on the street. Thank you, Terrence. Until next time, you coming back?
Hell yeah, I'm coming back.
All right. Thank y'all. See you next time.
Yeah.